Start. Hi everyone, and welcome to another live session from the series Engineering Qualification Validation. And this is session number 113, which means that every week for the last 113 weeks, more than 2 years, I am here live with you guys and sharing a little bit of my knowledge about the engineering qualification validation, the life of engineers here in Australia, and also how to get a professional job in Australia as well. And tonight I'm going to talk about what are the possible next steps after you validate your engineering qualification. But hang on, if you haven't validated yet, don't go away. It's very important. If you are in the process of validating your qualification, it's very important for you to stay with me here tonight, and so you can understand what is the next step, because your career is obviously your journey as a professional engineer doesn't really stop or doesn't really finish once you validate your engineering qualification. Once you validate your engineering qualification, your professional career as an engineer in Australia is just starting. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and in some states it's actually mandatory for you to be registered. So, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And why am I going to talk about this? Just last week I had few people contacting me asking things about RPEQ and CPEng and RPEng and NER. So those ones that are in Australia already, you guys know that in Australia we love what they call TLA, which stands for 3 letters acronym. So usually you see a lot of those TLAs, 3 letters acronym. And NER, obviously 3 letters, where RPEQ is 4 letters, CPEng is 5 letters, RPEng is 5 letters, but we love an acronym. And tonight we're going to talk about those things and why are those things important in your life. And Vinny, yeah, welcome in YouTube. So. And certainly going to be very useful for you, Vinny, because of your validation. Well done. But first, for those that don't know me, my name is Gerson Ida, and I'm the founder of www.engineersinaustralia.com, a website that I created a couple of years ago to share content of value and useful information to help you in your journey to validate your engineering qualification in Australia. And I also share information about workplace health and safety, environmental management, day-to-day of engineering in Australia, and about, obviously, professional engineering recruitment. And if you haven't joined my Telegram group yet, what is Telegram? Telegram is a messaging app like WhatsApp. But in my view, it's more professional. It doesn't really have an algorithm, so which means that my posts and my messages and my videos, they reach everybody. It doesn't really filter like WhatsApp. And also it's got a much bigger capacity. Currently we are more than 800 people in the Telegram group. In WhatsApp you can just have 256 people in a group. So if you have more than 256, it means that you need to create more and more groups. And if you know any other engineer that would benefit in having this type of information, you're more than welcome to share the link that I'm going to copy and paste with you. So what you need to do to join the Telegram group, it's a free group. You just need to first download the app. And once you download the app, you can just then click on the link and you will be all right. So I'm just going to paste in Instagram. So should be okay now. Yep. And also, just reminding you guys that next month, on the 5th of September at 10 a.m. Brisbane time, I'm going to start my free online workshop. I want to become an engineer in Australia. In this workshop, in just 1 week, you will learn everything you need to do to start your validation process. So if you haven't registered yet, I'm going to paste the link as well, so you guys can register in the workshop. So sorry, I can't do two things at the same time. So sometimes when I copy and paste, I don't know what to say. But that's it. The link is in the comments as well. Those ones on Instagram, if you want to go to the link in my bio, you can click on the link in my bio, and then one of the buttons, it is to join my Telegram group, and the other button would be to register in the workshop. This actually, I'm going to show you guys a little bit later the workshop webpage, so you guys can follow the updates about the workshop. Okay, so I would like to know from you guys, are you guys in the process of validating your qualification, or are you guys in the process of becoming a chartered professional engineer or RPEQ, or which means stage 2 or the next step? So if you guys is still validating, perhaps if you could put in the comments so I know, you can just say perhaps validating. And if you are already validated and interested to know the next step, perhaps you can just write validated, so in the past. So, and then once I got some of the answers there, I can then tailor some of the content. So let's get down to the business now, and I'm happy to be here and share my experience as a chartered professional engineer, or CPEng. And also, I'm also an RPEQ, a registered professional engineer of Queensland. And being RPEQ and chartered professional engineer of Queensland, I can also, I'm also eligible, and I also a member of an international professional engineer in the Asia Pacific as well. So, and tonight, that's what I'm going to talk about. What is the next step after your validation as an engineer here in Australia? First of all, it's probably important to explain that the validation process is commonly known as migration skills assessment, or that's for migration purposes, or if you don't really have a migration purposes, your validation of your engineering qualification is known as stage 1 of membership eligibility with Engineers Australia. So that's usually how it's known in terms of the stage 1 or your bachelor degree being validated. And then you do your stage 1 of membership eligibility, or you do your MSA, your migration skills assessment, and then you become a validated engineer in Australia. And then what? So, and that's a very good question. A lot of people, they say that some companies, they don't even ask to see your validation paperwork before they hire you. And do you know why? And the answer is very simple. In Australia, Australia as a country, the title of an engineer is not regulated. So it means that Australia-wide, there's no, let's say, a federal regulation about the title of engineer. So anyone can call themselves an engineer. It is then up to each state and territory to make sure that they regulate the profession. And luckily, in some states, it is already regulated. In other states, they are in the process of getting regulated. And in other states and territories, unfortunately, it's not regulated. and I'm going to talk about that. So in Queensland, for example, the profession of engineer, it's regulated, 100% regulated, and it was regulated back in 1929. So it's more than 90 years that the state of Queensland has the profession of an engineer regulated by law. There is the Professional Engineers Act 1929. That was the first version. The most current one is the Professional Engineers Act 2002. New South Wales and Victoria, they passed the law in 2019, 2020, and from 1 July this year, 2021, they started the registration process. So it's going to have like a transition period. I certainly advise you guys, if you are in New South Wales or Victoria, to go to the government website and just do a little bit of a Google search about professional engineer registration in your state. Okay, so as I said before, if you think that after your validation is approved, your journey is finished, gotta think twice. It's better to think twice. It is just the beginning of your professional career in Australia. And as I said, in some states, the profession of engineer is regulated, and you must be registered to provide professional engineering services. So this is a very important terminology, professional engineering services. And there are a few ways that you can be eligible for this registration in the states where the profession of engineer is regulated. Some of the examples, and I'm going to explain tonight. You can become a CPEng, a Chartered Professional Engineer with Engineers Australia. You can also become a RPEng, a Registered Professional Engineer with Professionals Australia. And you can also become have your engineering registered at the NER, the National Engineers Registration. But I spoke about professional engineering services. So this is a very, how can I say, is not really black and white. The definition of professional engineering services will probably going to vary between states to states and territories. But I went, obviously I am in Brisbane, I am in Queensland. I went to the Professional Engineers Act 2002, which is the most current one, and Queensland having 90 years of registration, so it's probably leading the way. And according to the Professional Engineers Act 2002 from Queensland, the definition of professional engineering service is PES, professional engineering service, means an engineering service that requires or is based on the application of engineering principles and data to a design or to a construction, production, operation, or maintenance activity relating to engineering, and does not include an engineering service that is provided only in accordance with a prescriptive standard. So it means that if you follow a prescriptive standard, if there is a standard that a registered engineer already provided, and you're just following letter by letter, step by step, that prescriptive standard, then you're not providing professional engineering services, because you are just implementing a prescriptive standard that was done by a registered professional engineer. But if you're using data and analyzing and doing calculations or modifying things using your engineering knowledge, that is then professional engineering services. And in Queensland, you have to be RPEQ, a Registered Professional Engineer of Queensland, to be able to do those things. I see sometimes in some of the groups in Facebook, and people talk about, oh yeah, you just need to validate or to be registered if you're going to sign a project. It's not like that. Signing a project or a design is just one of the many professional engineering services. There's so many other things that is part of professional engineering services. For example, a simple example, I'm a civil engineer and I work with roads. If I'm doing, let's say, a spray seal, and then let's say that the rate of bitumen that I'm going to use in a spray seal is like 2 liters per square meters. But according to the temperature and the condition of the site, etc., if I decide to change from 2 liters per square meter, going to use, let's say, 2.5 liters per square meter, because I use my judgment, I use my engineering knowledge, that is professional engineering services. And if I am not a registered professional engineer, I cannot make that call. If I am not an engineer on site, what do I need to do then? I need to contact the professional engineer that did the design of that spray seal, and then on the phone and say, we've got this condition, something has changed, or temperature or roughness or texture, whatever, and we need to increase or decrease the spray rate. And then the engineer will say, all right, so you can increase to 2.5. And then you just take notes of that. So if you do this, you're okay, because you are not the one making the decision. You are consulting the registered professional engineer, and then the engineer registered is advising you and you're just implementing. But if you are on site, even if you are an engineer, but you are not registered and you make that call, you are exercising illegally the profession of an engineer, at least in Queensland, because you are not registered. And I'm going to show you a little bit later an example of an engineer that was not registered and made those calls, and he ended up being prosecuted by the board and was convicted. So it is a criminal offense, actually. So you got to be very careful. There are some questions already here in YouTube and Instagram. I will answer those very soon. And I'm going to show you guys, because I'm promised that I'm going to do a PDF pretty much all my sessions. I'm going to show you the PDF of this live session. So this is the PDF that I'm going to post in my Telegram group. So if you want to get hold of this PDF, it's probably good for you to be part of the Telegram group, because I'm going to post a copy of this PDF in the Telegram group. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a picture of this page and this question, and I'm going to post in my Instagram. So I spent a lot of time preparing this material, and I think it's fair enough if I ask you guys a little bit of engagement in my Instagram. So I'm going to post this in my Instagram, and I would like you guys to like the post, and then write in the comments, what stage are you now? Validating your qualification or becoming a chartered or RPEng? And you understand what RPEng is. So that's what's the next step after my validation as an engineer. What's the definition of professional engineering services? And now I'm going to talk about CPEng. Sorry, I forgot to transition, so you were not seeing my PDF, but now you probably can. Sorry. So that is the PDF that's going to happen, and that's the information, so you can get access to this PDF a little bit later on. Okay, so going back to my notes, what is CPEng? CPEng, as I mentioned before, is one of the status that you can get so you can become eligible for registration. And in Queensland, if you become a CPEng, a Chartered Professional Engineer in Queensland, then you are eligible to be registered with the Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland and become then a registered professional engineer of Queensland. So you don't need supervision to provide professional engineering services. In New South Wales and Victoria, if you become a CPEng, you can also then become eligible for their registration. If I'm not wrong, I believe there are 5 categories in New South Wales and Victoria that registration is going to be mandatory. For civil engineer, mechanical engineer, structural engineer, electrical engineer, and fire safety engineer. But it's not for everything. I think New South Wales is for buildings, and Victoria I'm not quite sure. So they slowly going to be introducing the other types of engineering and also in other industries, not just building, but also in infrastructure in the future. But that is a matter of time. It will happen. In Queensland, it's for everything: building, infrastructure, mining, environmental, all sort of engineers. They need to be registered if you are providing professional engineering service. So what is CPEng? CPEng is Chartered Professional Engineer, and becoming a CPEng means that your work have been recognized by your peers and also successfully assessed by Engineers Australia. And Engineers Australia, if you go to the website, I'm going to share with you the site for CPEng, advises that you need to have 5 or more years to start your application and be a member of Engineers Australia. Does it need to be 5 years of Australian experience? Not necessarily. Engineers Australia certainly prefers that it is 5 years of Australian experience, but you can include some of your overseas experience as well. There are some complications because you will need to get some of your experience verified, and the verification process is a little bit complicated if you're using overseas experience. And how can you get the CPEng status? So according to Engineers Australia, and I'm just repeating here what the website of Engineers Australia is saying, there are 5 steps. The first step is a self-assessment. In this step, you'll be rating your experience against the chartered competencies, and you will be rating yourself as developing, functional, if you are proficient, or if you are advanced. And there are 16 competencies. Those ones that they are doing the validation process or just finished the validation process, you could be thinking, oh, that's deja vu, because the validation process also has 16 competencies. And the stage 2 or Chartered Professional Engineer also has 16 competencies. Are they the same? No, they're not the same. Are they similar? Yes, they are a bit similar, but they're not the same competencies. You cannot use the same material that you used in your validation process to use in your Chartered Professional Engineer application. But once you do your self-assessment, and that's an online self-assessment, once you reach functional at least in all the 16 competencies, you are then ready to move to the next step. And the next step is your industry review. And in this step, you will see if your peer agree that you're ready for chartered. The industry reviewers are preferably chartered members of Engineers Australia with more than 7 years of postgraduate engineering experience. And obviously they know you and you had a professional relationship with them as well. And also obviously if you are civil engineer and you trying to become a chartered professional engineer in civil, your industry reviewer needs to be in the civil area as well. So when you and your reviewers, you both rate all the 16 competencies as at least functional or above in all required competencies, you need to be a member of Engineers Australia. then you are ready for the next step. And what's next step? Step number 3. It's for you to enroll for Chartered. So then in this step, you go to the Engineers Australia website. You will put obviously your membership ID, and then you need to supply your CPD records, your continuing professional development records, your CV, and also your photo ID. In your CPD, you need to have at least 150 hours of CPD over a 3-year period. I am a chartered professional engineer, so I need to keep my CPD up to date, which means that at least 150 hours in the last 3 years. There are different categories there, 7 categories in your CPD, and there are some minimum hours and maximum hours depending on the category. So certainly I encourage you guys to look at the details in the Engineers Australia website. And this is where you pay the fee. And I'm going to talk about how much it's going to cost. Vinny was asking how much it costs to become a chartered professional engineer. So once you make your application, Engineers Australia will allocate a qualified assessor, and then in this step, one of the assessors will contact you about the evidence required to support your ratings. If you said that you're functional, if you said that you're proficient, or if you said that you're advanced, Engineers Australia assessor is going to ask you evidences of that, and you have the opportunity to submit together all of these evidences and then submit your evidences to the assessor. So, and those evidences, they need to be current, and typically they are less than 5 years old, and they need to be sufficient that demonstrates suitable complexity. So since the validation process, you remember that when you did your validation, the experiences, they need to be complex engineering problems or complex engineering projects. And to become a chartered professional engineer, it's not different. It needs to be complex experience as well. And obviously, it needs to be authentic. It needs to be your own work. You cannot use somebody else's work. And after the 4th step, which is to provide the evidences, the Engineers Australia website assessor will probably contact you and book a chartered interview. In this step, you will support your chartered competency by undertaking a chartered interview with an Engineers Australia qualified assessor. So this interview is going to be conducted by the assessor, and in some cases, a chartered volunteer may also be present to assist. As some of you may or may not know, since 2011, I am a chartered volunteer. So being volunteer in engineering is part of the code of ethics in Engineers Australia. So since 2011, I participated already in many chartered professional interviews. And then after this interview, that's the final outcome. So the assessor may give you the good news saying that you are approved and you become chartered, or if you still need a little bit more development in this competency or another competency. And how much that's going to cost. I hope that you are seated. I wasn't aware that it was that expensive, but it is quite expensive. The chartered pathway, the assessment, according to Engineers Australia in their website today, it costs $1,815, including GST if you are in Australia. If you're not in Australia, you don't need to pay 10% GST. So that's called the chartered pathway. And then if you have more than 15 years of experience, you can do the chartered interview, but it costs you still $1,925. So it's still quite dear as well. And you got to remember that you need to be a member of Engineers Australia, which costs you in a professional engineer category is going to cost you $574 as well. Okay, so I've got some questions, and I've got more content tonight, guys. I'm going to explain you what is RPEng from Professionals Australia, and I'm going to explain to you what is NER, the National Engineering Register, and I'm going to talk to you about the RPEQ, the Registered Professional Engineer of Queensland as well. So I'm just going to go to some of the questions in Instagram. Interesting that Instagram, it's difficult to know the names because sometimes the profile doesn't match, but I will make my best to guess. I think it's Angela. She's asking, can I validate my degree even after 5 years of not working in my profession here in Australia? Yes, you can, Angela. Actually, I've got one civil engineer that she's in Tasmania, and she arrived in Australia a few years ago as well, probably similar time as you, 4 or 5 years ago, and she's one of my students of my mentoring program, and she applied back in 2019, in December 2019, and she got her validation approved in January 2020. So the answer is yes, you can validate your engineering degree even after 5 years of not working in your profession. The important thing is that you need to use examples of your experience that are matching with the ANZ SEO qualification occupation definition. So, and I'm going to explain everything in my workshop. So if you don't know much about it, the first important thing you need to do is to go to Engineers Australia website and download the booklet, Migration Skills Assessment booklet, and read from the beginning until the end, kind of 10 times. And then you participate in my online free workshop next month. In 1 week, you will know everything you need to do to start your validation process. But very important, you need to read the booklet as well. And then Adriano, hi Adriano, in Instagram, he's asking, hello everyone, how about engineering university lecturer? Is there also some kind of professional registration? Yeah, that's a very good question, Adriano. The registration is for engineers, and then the university will probably going to be the one that will require some other registration as well. I don't know what is the requirement if you are going to be a lecturer in an university here. Unfortunately, I was not fortunate enough to provide lectures here in Australia. I used to be a university lecturer in Brazil, but here in Australia, I don't know. But you may need to have some other registration. Perhaps if you are registered as a professional engineer, perhaps that is enough. I'm pretty sure that it could be enough because if when you're doing engineering degree here, a lot of the professors in the university, they are engineers. Obviously, they hold, most certainly they hold a master's or a PhD degree as well. Vinny in YouTube, he was asking, what's the annual fee for CPEng and RPEQ? Yes, CPEng, once you get your CPEng assessed, the renewal of your membership is $574 for CPEng, and RPEQ, I don't remember how much I paid. I think it was 200, and it's not as expensive as CPEng, but it is about 200, and I think it was $240 or $236 per year. So that is usually the fees. And but you don't need to keep your CPEng and your RPEQ. If you RPEQ, you can just pay your RPEQ. You're always welcome to keep your membership with Engineers Australia, but it's not mandatory for you to have your CPEng or your membership with Engineers Australia to keep your RPEQ. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you guys the PDF, and actually I'm going to do the picture. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a picture of this page. Now, picture there, and I'm going to do my post in Instagram, so you guys can make a comment, so I can then post this one in Telegram. So the description is going to be, what stage are you? Validating your qualification or becoming a CPEng / RPEng. Question mark. Okay, share. I'm going to show you guys the post. Yes, so that's posted there. No, where's my post? Here. So that's a post there in Instagram. So if you guys could like the post and put in the comments the answer for that. It's not just likes, guys. You need to give likes and comments. And if I don't have likes and comments, I'm not going to post that in Telegram. I think there's a question here in Facebook. Ariel, thanks Gerson for clarifying the role of a professional engineer. And then ask the question, Gerson, is Engineer Australia validation different from Engineers Australia skills assessment for skilled migration? Assuming I get assessed as a professional engineer, would it be the same as being validated as professional engineer? Yeah, that's a good question, Ariel, and I'm going to clarify that. When you are doing your validation process, which is your migration skills assessment or even the stage 1 of membership eligibility, when you apply online, you need to choose, and that's step number 2. Step number 2 of the CDR process, the competency demonstration report. You need to choose the category that you're going to be applying for. A category can be professional engineer, engineering associate, engineering technologist, one of the 3. If you choose to apply to validate your qualification as a professional engineer, and if you are successful in that application, you will get a letter, a migration skills assessment letter, for example. If you applied, obviously, migration skills assessment, you will get a migration skills assessment outcome letter saying that you've been validated as a professional engineer category, and then in the civil engineering or mechanical or whatever. So that is the category, which is going to work in your migration process. That is different from being registered as a professional engineer. So there are 2 things. What happens is when you get your validation process, it means that your qualification has been assessed as equivalent to an Australian qualification. So Engineers Australia is just saying your graduation that you did in your case in the Philippines is the same as the qualification of a similar engineer here in Australia. That's it. Stage number 2, which is the CPEng, or if you are in Queensland, the Registered Professional Engineer of Queensland, it's saying that you don't need to be supervised. You can work autonomously. So when you validate your qualification, and if you are providing professional engineering services, you still need to be supervised. You still need to be, you're not autonomous yet. Engineers Australia didn't say that you're autonomous. They said that you validated, your qualification is similar to an Australian qualification. For example, an engineer that is graduated in Australia from an Australian university, once you are fresh graduated, you cannot provide professional engineering services straight away. Let's say somebody here in Brisbane graduates at QUT or Griffith, for example, or UQ or whatever, as a civil engineer. Graduated engineer, no work experience. This engineer cannot work autonomously. This engineer cannot provide professional engineering services here in Queensland because he or she is not registered with the board. And to be registered with the board, you need to attain your status as a CPEng, a Chartered Professional Engineer, or you gotta you can also do the RPEng, the Registered Professional Engineer with Professionals Australia, which is another organization. And usually you have more than 5 years of experience, and then you're going to demonstrate stage number 2. So it is a bit confusing because in your letter, in your validation letter, you get the terminology professional engineer, but it doesn't really mean that with that letter you can go to the board of professional engineers and ask for your registration. You can, but they're not going to approve, because what you need to provide to the board of professional engineers of Queensland is the letter that becomes you a CPEng from Engineers Australia or RPEng from Professionals Australia. So yeah, it is different, Ariel. Okay, I'm just going to check if is there any other question there. No other questions, so I'll keep going. Okay, so I spoke about RPEng. So RPEng, Registered Professional Engineer of Professional Australia. So this is the Professional Engineer accreditation established by the Association of Professional Engineers Australia, APEA. So it is like the, for those that are Brazilian, Sindicato dos Engenheiros, or the Engineers Union for those ones in English. But that is the Association of Professional Engineers Australia, and they have this program, which is the RPEng. And in simple steps, what you need to do to apply for RPEng. And if you get your RPEng, you can get your registration here in Queensland with the board, and the Association of Professional Engineers Australia was also approved for the registration scheme in Victoria as well. So first of all, when you go to the RPEng website, you need to first read the guidelines. There's a very comprehensive guideline, like a booklet. You need to read that. You have to ensure that you have reviewed the eligibility requirements and ensure that all of those requirements have been met in terms of qualification, experience, and then you have your resume, your referee requirements, the disciplines that you're going to be applying for, your professional development, ethical commitments, and also obviously your identification confirmation with 100 points. You also got to have your engineering degree if you finish your engineering degree here in Australia, or your stage 1 assessment letter has been certified by an authorized witness. Authorized witness, you go to the Australian government and then you can see who are the authorized witness. For example, I am an authorized witness because I am a member of Engineers Australia, and also I'm an employee of a state government for more than 5 years, so I can witness documents. You have to also update your resume, and then you got to do your online application and submit your application as well. So in this process, there's also industry peer review. Somebody that you know or that knows you will have to make sure that they give references about the work that you did. So similar process to the chartered professional engineer. It's about you saying about your experiences, matching some of the competencies there, and then somebody from the industry that knows you, knows your work, will have to then confirm that you actually did that. How much that's going to cost? If you are a member of the Association of Professional Engineers Australia, it's going to cost you $300. If you're not a member, it's going to cost you $500. The other thing that I would like to talk with you tonight is about the NER. It is the National Engineering Register, and it was created by Engineers Australia as a platform to showcase the engineers' talent and experience to prospective employers. So employers and companies, they want to know, all right, is this engineer registered? Has this engineer got any issue, professional issue? Like in our home countries, if you did something wrong, it's probably going to have an observation in your records. So that's the same thing with the National Engineer Register. And to be eligible to the NER, engineers, they need to meet the following eligibility criteria. You have to have a recognized qualification, which means an accredited qualification here in Australia, or your Engineers Australia eligibility for membership stage 1 outcome letter, or your Engineers Australia migration skills assessment outcome letter. You also got to have 5 or more years of relevant full-time equivalent work experience in the last 10 years, with at least 4 years of full-time equivalent post-graduation experience. And you also need to demonstrate the 5 competencies. Deal with ethical issues, practice competently, develop safe and sustainable solutions, identify, assess, and manage risk, and use local engineering knowledge. And also you gotta have your professional indemnity insurance. It's important to say that both CPEng and NER, the site of Engineers Australia, they refer to the stage 2 of the in Engineers Australia, which is pretty much demonstrating all of those 16 competencies there. And I'm going to give here the websites in the PDF. There will be the websites. I'm going to actually show you guys those websites now, so you guys can have a little bit of a look. So that is the National Engineering Register. So as you can see, it's a site from Engineers Australia, and here you will be able to see what you need to do, areas of practice, how to join the NER. So this got all the things that you need to know, the CPD types and conditions, stage 2 competencies, the documents, all the PDF that you need to know. So that's for the NER. The chartered professional engineer. So chartered engineer, you can start the self-assessment pretty much straight away. You don't need to pay anything to start your self-assessment. And remember, those self-assessments under each of the 16 competencies, you rate yourself as developing, functional, proficient, or advanced. And then also here, I think there are some chartered information sessions. So there are some webinars that Engineers Australia, they promote. And here, for example, let's see. How to become a chartered engineer. That was 17th of August, so it's gone already in September. How to become a chartered engineer information session, Wednesday, 1st of September. So if you want to know more, you can participate in those webinars. They're usually free. And and it counts as part of your CPD as well. So these are the steps that you need to take to become chartered professional engineer. And also I'm going to show you guys, if you are in the process of validating your qualification, so that is my workshop website, engqualvalworkshop.com. So if you are not registered yet, you can go to that, and the website is in the comments if you joined a little bit late. If you are on Instagram, you can go to the link in my bio, and then once you click there, one of the buttons is for you to register. So once you click here to register in the free online workshop. Once you click in there, it will open up your registration page. Very simple. You just need to put your email address, your name, and then select that applies. I'm a Brazilian. I'm living in Australia. And then I register now. It will open up a page with a couple of videos, I think. Supposed to have 2 videos there. Not sure why it's not showing the videos, but it should appear, should have 2 videos. My website crashed. So the video is just talking about how difficult it is to get emails. So you can join my WhatsApp group for the workshop. So once the workshop is approaching, I'm going to send notifications in the WhatsApp group. I'm going to send notifications in the Telegram as well. But you can then check the workshop website, the calendar. So it starts on the 5th of September, 10 a.m. with the webinar. There will be live sessions. I will be sending emails with videos. I will have a live Instagram, and I'm going to have a closing webinar. So pretty much from Sunday to Sunday. And that's why you will be able to learn everything you need to do to start your validation process. And once those videos, they are being activated, those icons here, they will be activated as well. Okay. So let's go back to the notes, and now I'm going to talk about RPEQ. So what's RPEQ? So Queensland is the state that has the oldest and most comprehensive engineering registration scheme in Australia. And it is governed by the Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland, BPEQ. And the registered engineers, they are also known as RPEQ, Registered Professional Engineers of Queensland. And as I mentioned before, the Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland, they make sure that the legislation, which is the Professional Engineers Act 2002, is complied with. So it was the first act was the PE Act 1929, and it was suggested by the Professor Roger William Hercules Hawken, and it was suggested to the Queensland government at that time, and then the Parliament at that time approved the PE Act 1929, and Professor Hawken was the first engineer registered under the Act. So again, the Act dictates that whoever is providing professional engineering services, they need to be registered with the board. There are just 2 exemptions that you don't need to be registered if you are providing professional engineering services. One exemption is if you are directly supervised by a registered professional engineer of Queensland. And directly supervised means that the engineer needs to know everything you're doing in that work. And the other exemption is if you are following a prescriptive standard that was written by a registered professional engineer of Queensland. So again, professional engineering service means an engineering service that requires or is based on the application of engineering principles and data to a design or to a construction, production, operation, or maintenance activity relating to engineering, and does not include an engineering service that is provided only in accordance with a prescriptive standard. So I'm going to show you guys an example. I mentioned to you somebody that was criminally prosecuted. As I mentioned before, if you provide professional engineering services without being registered, it is a criminal offense and you will be prosecuted, and you can end up in jail or you can end up paying heavy fines. So I'm going to share with you guys this one, and that's going to be in the PDF as well. I'll see if I can make it bigger. I make that bigger. Yeah. So this case was a prosecution by the Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland against an unregistered person. The charges, 2 separate complaints were made against N, which contain a total of 14 charges, etc., etc., etc. The background of this person was not registered as a RPEQ at any time while undertaking the work, the subject of the prosecution. So just cutting short the long story is that this person entered an agreement with an RPEQ, and they said, you know, RPEQ, I'm doing this project and I would like you to supervise my work. And the RPEQ said, oh yeah, that's fine. This is an arrangement. I'm going to charge you this, and then etc., etc. You're going to do this. I'm going to supervise you, and you're fine. But what happened was that over a period of months, as it says here, that person, the unregistered professional, ended up doing professional engineering services for a number of clients in relation to 13 properties in Brisbane. And that says here, some of the services included designing a retaining wall, designing garages and carports, producing engineering drawings for house alterations, performing inspections of board piers, footings, slabs, and timber framing, and producing design for a deck. So as you can see, it looks like this person is a civil engineer. It is a lot of things that a lot of the people that I see in some of the Facebook comments, they say that he doesn't need design. So we are all professional engineers, and I'm not here to kind of to judge if you're doing right or wrong. But when we graduated engineer, we raised our right hand and we made our oath to serve the engineering profession and follow the legislation and the rules and standards. So just because you're here in Australia, it doesn't really mean, and because the companies are not asking you if you're a qualified engineer, it doesn't really mean that you don't need to follow. You need to follow. You know that you need to be registered. You know that you need to be validated. So in this case, this person ended up doing all of those things, and this person undertook the engineering work to these properties without the RPEQ's knowledge, and even worse, fraudulently issue a number of Form 15s and Form 16s, putting the RPEQ's scanned signature without the RPEQ knowledge. So that's even worse. So what happened was the RPEQ subsequently discovered the USB stick and saw a number of documents with his signature or her signature, I don't know. And knowing that was not work that he or she has done. And then the RPEQ went to the board and said, you know, this person here was using my signature in some fraudulent documents. So it went to the court. As I said before, it's a criminal activity. It went to the court, and there was obviously a court hearing and trial and judgment. And then consequences of that is that taking the above factors into consideration, the court ordered that N pay a large global penalty for all 19 charges and recorded a conviction. The court also ordered that N pay the board's cost. So it is very serious, guys, because this large global penalty, sometimes you can lose your house. You know, you can be fined for $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. So who's got that money in the pocket just to pay a fine? I don't, and probably a lot of people, they don't. So you can actually lose your house, and if you cannot pay the fine, you ended up going to the jail, because, you know, if you don't pay a fine, they will go after you. So it's really serious. So when people say, nah, you don't need to validate your engineering qualification, companies don't ask for those things, have a think twice, and please don't do that. So that's the example that's going to be in the PDF as well. And I will show you here how the PDF is taking shape. So that's definition of professional engineering services, what's CPEng, what's RPEng, the link to the Chartered Professional in Engineers Australia, the link to the Professional Engineers Australia, the link to the NER, the link to the Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland, and also this is the link of the court case. So just conscious of times, guys, we almost there. And I just want to tell you guys what's going to be the password of this PDF. I just like to remind you guys, you need to go to my Instagram post. My Instagram is JersonIda, @JersonIda. You need to go to this post and like the post, is my last post, and make a comment answering the question. What stage are you now? Are you validating your engineering qualification, or are you becoming a chartered professional engineer or RPEng? If I get likes and comments, I will then make this PDF available in my Telegram group. It will be protected by a password, and the password is next step, all together in small letters. I'm actually going to paste in Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So those ones that they're not watching, obviously they don't know what this word is about, but you guys know that this is going to be the password of the PDF. For my students in my VIP group, obviously I'm going to put the PDF without the password. So even if they haven't watched the live session, because they are my students, they are special, they will have access without the password. Vinny is asking YouTube, Gerson, to maintain the CPEng and RPEQ, do I need to pay the Engineers Australia membership plus CPEng fee plus RPEQ fee? That's a good question, Vinny. What you need to do, if you want to maintain your CPEng, you just need to pay the CPEng membership, which is $574 this financial year. But you don't need to pay that CPEng fee, $1,815. That is for your assessment. So you paid that just once. Once you pay that assessment and once you get successful, you just need to pay every year the membership fee, which is $574. If you want to be a CPEng every year. If you are in Queensland, then obviously you need to pay your RPEQ, which is going to be $236, I think, every year. But for you to keep your RPEQ, you don't need to keep your CPEng. So you can choose one. You can choose to pay both, or you can choose to pay just RPEQ. You certainly need to pay your RPEQ if you're going to be here in Queensland, provide a project in Queensland. Interesting and important to say as well, there is actually one of the court cases in the website of Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland. They actually prosecuted an engineer in New South Wales, in Sydney, because this engineer was providing a project to be done in Queensland. And that's another important thing. Even if you're not in Queensland, you could be in Sydney, you could be in Melbourne, you could be in Brazil, you could be in America, UK, whatever. But if you are providing professional engineering services of a project where the client is in Queensland, or it's going to be in Queensland, you need to be RPEQ. It doesn't matter if you are in Sydney. So that particular engineer was in Sydney. The engineer was providing a design service to a project here in Queensland and was not registered with the board. And that engineer got prosecuted as well. So the thing is really serious here in Queensland. If you're not registered, please do not provide professional engineering services if you're not registered, or if you're not supervised by a registered professional engineer. Okay, let me check any other questions there. No, it's all good. Okay, so I want to remind you guys that if you're interested in the free workshop, I want to become an engineer in Australia. It's going to start on the 5th of September, Sunday, 10 a.m. Brisbane time, with a live webinar where I'm going to explain everything that's going to happen in the workshop. And also I'm going to talk about one of the biggest obstacles in the validation process as well. And I hope that these tips, they have been helpful to assist you in your journey to advance with your profession as an engineer. I would like to welcome you guys to visit my social media. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please feel free to visit my YouTube channel. I've got more than 150 videos there. All of my live sessions, they are also available in YouTube. And if you like, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel as well. And next week, it's going to be the 29th of September. I'm going to probably start talking about the workshop, how it's going to work, etc., etc., etc. So if you have any other suggestions for live sessions, please send me a direct message. I hope that you guys join my Telegram group, so you can send in the Telegram group suggestions for live sessions as well, or in my Instagram direct message, or in the Messenger with Facebook. All right, so I would like to thank you guys very much, and I hope that the information was helpful. And if you have any other questions, please send me a message. Thank you very much, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.